We now turn our attention to boxing, an upcoming fight coming up on the 31st of March 2018. David Price versus Alexander Povetkin. It's for the World Boxing Association Intercontinental Heavyweight title and the World Boxing Organization International Heavyweight title. So this is it was a very interesting fight when it was first announced. It was a bit of a shock when it was announced. David Price, we all know him, very popular in Britain, well liked. He started so well in his career. Knockout merchant, big, tall, strong, former plumber from Liverpool. And, a lot of people had high hopes for him. He blasted out a lot of people early on. And, knockouts all over his record. If you remember early on, he fought people that, you'd expect him to get past. It weren't hugely difficult challenges. And he knocked them all out. If you look on his record, it's 22-4-0. 4 KO losses for Price. That's what comes to mind straight away, but we'll come to that later. He's got 18 wins by KO out of this 22 victories. And so early on, he was just blasting people out. Sam Sexton, Audley Harrison, Tom Dallas, certain names that, may be familiar to you, British names. But then the problem that he hit was when he fought Tony Thompson in 2013. Fought Tony Thompson, and, was someone... Thompson's experienced. He's very experienced. He's very difficult. He's very tricky, and he's got a style where he's not hugely powerful, but he's got a style where he can kind of old man you. By that we mean a style where he's very clever. He's very shrewd. He absorbs power from the opponent, drains them of their energy, and then sneaks up on them with sort of little pot shots in flurries. And Price got very tired, and Thompson's actually got 2 TKO victories over Price. And it was just a disaster. Price was the big hope. And since then, that sort of theme has continued. There was a rematch with Thompson. He lost that. Then there was Erkan Tepa beat him in 2015. That was awful. But then Tepa was found to have been on a banned substance at the time. But that was awful. And then recently, Christian Hammer in February 2017 got a TKO victory over him, where Price again, started to falter. There was a moment where Price looked like he'd landed a killer blow on Hammer. Hammer went down, but he got off the canvas and then just sort of outworked Price. Price seems to have stamina issues. He got tired, and Hammer got the victory. The stamina thing came up. Lennox Lewis talked about. He said he must have low glucose levels or something after the first Tony Thompson fight. I think Lewis in the press had said that he'd said a few words to Price. Not that he was a formal advisor of David Price, but he'd said a few words to him, a bit of advice or whatever. And when Thompson got the victory over Price, Lewis's answer to that was that there may be a problem with his glucose levels or his nutrition or something. But whatever the problem was, it's continued, and now Price has got this opportunity against one of the most dangerous men in heavyweight boxing, Alexander Povetkin. Povetkin, 33 wins, 23 by KO, 1 loss to Vladimir Klitschko in a title fight a few years back, and he's been there or thereabouts for a long time. He's 38 years old now. Again, he's been banned at some point not that long ago for banned substances. So that's a bit of a concern. But I'm sure that's all been ironed out now. It's all been sorted. There won't be any of that anymore in his career. And now he's going to fight David Price, and he's expected to win. You look at the betting. You got Alexander Povetkin 1-20. Huge odds-on favourite, Alexander Povetkin. The draw 33-1, and Price is 8-1. I'm sure you can do better than that though. If it's 1-20 for Povetkin, how can the bookies get away with giving you 8-1 on Price? It should be a lot higher than that. But if you shop around, I'm sure you'll get a tremendous price on David Price, maybe 10-1, maybe more. I'll actually look into that. in terms of the outcome of the fight, it's obvious that, as the bookies odds tell you, we know Povetkin is a huge favourite. But I just think it's an interesting fight. There's more to talk about here than just betting. Povetkin is someone who has stinging power, spiteful power. He's very strong on the inside. He's a very aggressive fighter. If you've seen that knockout that he laid on Johan Dupar a couple of years ago, I mean, it was just brutal. He goes after you. He tries to make the fight. He tries to bring it to you. But this is something David Price can use to his advantage. If Price is going to have a chance, he's going to have to look back at Povetkin's history. He's going to have to look back at the fight that he had with Vladimir Klitschko. Vladimir Klitschko, a much taller man, as David Price will be in this fight. David Price, 6'8", he's got an 82-inch reach against Povetkin, 6'2", 75-inch reach. So, it's straight away obvious he's going to have to use his range. He's going to have to use the jab. Price has a decent enough jab, but he's never employed it enough in his career. He's going to have to really put that jab in Povetkin's face and keep him at range if he's going to have a chance. If you see the way Klitschko dealt with Povetkin, he kept him at range. He spoiled all his work. Povetkin came in with aggressive, spiteful shots on the inside, hooks, uppercuts, but, Klitschko, he had this way of, it's hard to describe, but he put his hands out in front of him and kind of like almost flap away the offence. It wouldn't penetrate. It wouldn't hit his chin. He'd block it. He'd grab your head, grab the head of the opponent, push it down, and then wait for the ref to split them. He had methods to nullify his opponent, and that's exactly what he did to Povetkin. He nullified him. Povetkin's dangerous on the inside. His power is stinging and it's painful. Klitschko did whatever he had to do to ensure that Povetkin could not get through, and Povetkin just got frustrated in the end. I think he fell over a couple of times. He was just exasperated by the end of the fight because Klitschko had done everything he could to just keep him at range, feather him off with the jab and look for the right hand. Price has got a terrific right hand. Price has got power. Price has been blasting out, lower level, domestic level fighters for years, even European level. And the power that Price has will scare any fighter. If Price lands on your chin, you're going to know about it. It doesn't matter who it is. People, obviously the record, he's provided entertainment now in a way. It's almost like we're waiting for him to get knocked out. We're just wondering, it's always a miserable story, and we're wondering how it's going to end. People are thinking about how Povetkin's going to finish him off. But Price, he's been a pundit, so he knows his boxing, he knows his strategy. He's not stupid. He's a clever guy. He just needs to. He's going to have to employ a game plan. It's no good just getting in the ring and thinking you have a puncher's chance because you're a big guy. Povetkin is an aggressive, dangerous fighter, and if he goes in there and hasn't done his homework and doesn't have, it's going to be a chess game, this one, and he knows it's his last chance. So I really do hope. Another point is, I've been saying that Povetkin is spiteful and aggressive. That Price needs to be as well. And I appreciate that might not be his normal temperament, but he needs to come into this fight with a bit of fire in his belly. And when you're as big as he is, if you've got a little bit of fire in your belly and a little bit of aggression, you're going to be a match for anyone. And you just get the impression in his fights in the past, he hasn't been able to keep that fire going. He might start well, but then he gets tired or he might doubt himself. It always looks like there's some confidence issues there. When you've got the power that he has in his right hand and you've got the frame that he's got and you've got the backing he's got from the British public, there's no need to lack any confidence. He needs to go for this one. And the way he's going to have a chance, the only way he'll have a chance, is to employ a nullifying, sort of spoiling technique that, similar to that Klitschko did. You have to spoil Povetkin's work, you have to frustrate him and not let him get anywhere near that chin of yours. That chin of David Price's, because it's been shown to be suspect in the past, and someone with Povetkin's power and the combos and flurries that he throws, the uppercuts particularly, it will spell a nightmare for David Price if he doesn't employ some sort of defensive strategy. Clinching and holding. He's going to have a big advantage. He's going to be heavier than Povetkin. Klitschko was bigger than Povetkin and he tied him up, leant on him, as I said earlier, pushed his head down, waited for the ref to get him to separate. If he does all that, Povetkin will get frustrated and he'll tire. But looking at the bookies' odds, 1 to 20 on Povetkin, it does appear that he has no chance at all. What's likely to happen? Povetkin's likely to knock David Price out. I've given a strategy as to what Price can employ to have a chance, but the vast vastly likely outcome is a Povetkin stoppage at some stage, with Povetkin getting through at some point and landing on Price's chin, landing to the body. You know, Price has always looked like he's had some sort of stamina issue, so after about 5 or 6 rounds he starts blowing. So unless he's done a lot of fitness work and unless he's employed that sort of nullifying, spoiling strategy, employing his assets, his height, his reach, his weight advantage, then it should be short work for Povetkin. There is no real betting recommendation on this because the odds are 1 to 20 for Povetkin. You could. Price certainly has a puncher's chance. When you talk about the puncher's chance in heavyweight boxing, for a fighter that's less fancied, but has the ability to blast someone out, David Price, more than anyone else I can imagine or I can put up, is a man you'd put in a category who could take advantage of a puncher's chance. If he lands on Povetkin with one punch, with one right hand, sweetly delivered, there's a huge chance he won't get up. Povetkin does come to hand. He does come straight to hand. So there's a possibility Price has a chance to let his right hand go. And if he does land, you never know. That 8 to 1 could land. I think I'm going to have a quick look around and see, the best possible price that can be attained, because I can't believe for 1 minute that 8 to 1 is the best price around for David Price in this fight, seeing as Povetkin is going off at a short 1 to 20. So I'm just going to have a quick look and see what can be achieved. So, okay, straight away we can see some better offerings than 8 to 1 on David Price. You've got 10 to 1 in some places. That seems to be the best that bookies are offering. I bet on exchanges, if you went on to Betfair exchange, you could probably do better than that. Betting against other people, I'm sure the market will offer something more favourable on David Price in this one. But one thing's for sure, it's going to be a terrific fight. It's going to be interesting. David Price is always interesting. Everyone always wants to see what's going to happen. Is he going to finally, fulfil his potential and, the biggest opportunity he's had to date in his career? Or is Povetkin just going to clear him out in a few rounds and, leave Price on the canvas? Who knows? Please give your comments on, what you think will happen in this fight, what will be interesting about this fight. Please like and subscribe if you haven't so far, and I'll see you next time.